Have you ever been speaking, sharing something that genuinely mattered to you, and suddenly someone cuts you off? It happens in meetings, it happens with friends, it even happens in the most intimate moments, when the person you love interrupts you mid-sentence. And here's the real question: how do you respond? Do you go quiet, slowly fading into the background? Do you force a smile, whispering, "Sorry, go ahead"? It feels harmless, but it isn't, because every time you surrender that moment, you are teaching the world exactly how much or how little your voice deserves to be heard. And here's the truth: this is not just about interruptions. It's about power. It's about presence. It's about respect. Today, I'm going to show you something timeless. Just 3 simple words that can stop interruptions immediately. 3 words used by Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. Words so simple, yet so powerful. They can silence a room and pull every eye back to you. Stay with me until the end, because once you learn these words, you will never struggle to be heard again. And if you believe in mastering yourself, in becoming unshakable in a noisy world, then take a moment right now to subscribe. This channel, The Nexus Mind, is where we grow stronger together. So what are these 3 words? We'll begin with the first one. But before that, we need to understand why language itself has always been tied to power in Stoic philosophy. Part 1. Words and Power. The ancients understood this well. The Romans believed that words could shape an empire. One promise could start a war. One command, spoken at the right moment, could save thousands of lives. Seneca once wrote to Lucilius, "Brevity and calm in speech carry more force than the loudest cries of the crowd. Not volume, not noise, but calm authority." And it's still true today. Power no longer rests in swords or shields. It rests in how you speak. In a meeting, if you can't hold attention, you'll be ignored. In a negotiation, if you can't stand behind your words, you'll be dismissed. Even in relationships, if your voice shakes, you'll be overlooked. Here's the problem. Most people give their power away. We smile awkwardly. We whisper, "Sorry." We yield. And in that instant, we send a dangerous message. My voice matters less than yours. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, do not be distracted by what is unnecessary. Hold to what is essential. If you don't protect what is essential in your speech, others will take it from you. So how do you reclaim attention without shouting, without anger? It starts with the first word. A word so simple, people overlook its strength. Part 2. The first word. Listen. Why is this word so powerful? Psychologists call it an orienting signal. When you say listen, the brain instantly shifts. It stops, focuses, and prepares for something important. Picture this. You're in a meeting. The room is buzzing with voices, arguments, noise. You don't raise your volume. You don't slam the table. You simply say, "Listen, here's what needs to be finished first." The noise fades. The room quiets. Not because you forced anyone, but because the word listen carries authority. It is a gentle command, one the human mind is wired to obey. History shows this clearly. Epictetus, the Stoic teacher, would pause mid-lesson whenever his students grew restless. He didn't scold, he didn't shout. He would simply scan the room, lift his gaze, and say slowly, "Listen." And with that one word, order returned. Silence became his ally. Centuries later, Martin Luther King Jr. used the same principle. During his legendary "I have a dream" speech, he often began with the phrase, "Now listen." Thousands were shouting, clapping, chanting, yet at those words, they leaned in. The crowd surrendered its noise to the gravity of his voice. That is the lesson. When you use listen, you remind people that your words carry value. You're not asking for permission. You are declaring presence. But listen alone is not enough. Attention fades unless it is anchored to meaning. You must show people why they should care, why your voice deserves priority. And that is where the second word comes in, a word that instantly shifts the hierarchy of any conversation. Part 3, the second word, important. Interruptions happen because people assume their thoughts matter more than yours. They believe what they have to say is urgent, while what you are saying can wait. But the moment you use the word important, that assumption breaks. You redefine the weight of the conversation. You trigger the brain to prioritize your message. Neuroscience shows that when something is labeled important, the mind sharpens its focus. Picture this. You're presenting an idea and someone interrupts. Instead of shrinking, you respond calmly. The important point is this. Instantly, the interruption weakens. No one wants to be the person who ignores what's important. The Stoics understood this long before science confirmed it. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself, "Hold to what is necessary. Do not be distracted by what does not matter." On the battlefield, surrounded by advisors, Marcus was known to raise his hand and say, "The important matter is the discipline of the soldiers." With that single phrase, all side talk fell away. Focus returned to what mattered. In everyday life, this sounds like, "What's important here is that I explain the reason first." The important detail I was about to add changes everything. Notice the shift. You're no longer competing for attention. You're deciding where attention belongs. But there's a catch. Importance alone can feel abstract. People may nod and still drift away. To truly command presence, you must anchor importance in time, make it immediate. That's why the third word matters most. It's the word that snaps every wandering mind back into the present. If approved, reply, "Next section," and I'll continue from, and it's the word that brings every WA part 4. The third word, now. Later is easy to ignore. Tomorrow can be postponed, but now cannot be brushed aside. When you say now, you anchor attention in the only moment that truly exists. Seneca wrote, "Life is divided into 3 parts. What was, what will be, and what is. We are not masters of the first 2, only the third." The Stoics believe the present is our only true possession. That's why the word now is so powerful. It doesn't allow distraction, it demands presence. Imagine this. You're interrupted mid-thought. Instead of backing down, you say, "Now, let me finish this." The other person stops, because now isn't optional. It pulls them back into the moment with you. History gives us the same lesson. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, would stop debates and remind his students, "Now is the time to practice philosophy, not tomorrow." With that one word, he refused to let wisdom drift into the abstract future. He dragged everyone back into reality. Even in modern life, leaders, coaches, and commanders rely on it. A general doesn't say soon, he says now. A coach doesn't shout later, he demands focus now, because urgency creates action. So when you say, "Now, hear the rest of my point. Now, focus on this part," You're not fighting interruptions. You're replacing their momentum with your own, short, sharp, undeniable. With listen, you gain attention. With important, you define priority. With now, you anchor it in the present. But knowing these words isn't enough. There's a trap, and almost everyone falls into it. A single habit that destroys all authority the moment you open your mouth. That trap is the word sorry. Part 5. The trap of sorry. Think about how many times you've done it. You're interrupted, and before you even think, you whisper, "Sorry, go ahead." It feels polite, it feels safe, but beneath the surface, it is destructive. Because every time you use sorry in that moment, you are not just apologizing. You are asking permission to exist in the conversation. You are teaching the other person that their words deserve space, and yours can be brushed aside. Epictetus warned, "No one can diminish you without your consent." And when you surrender with sorry, you hand over that consent. Picture this: you're in a meeting. Your idea is cut off. You respond, "Sorry, continue." In that instant, your influence disappears. The room no longer sees you as the one holding value. They see you as background noise. Or at home, you share something close to your heart. Your partner interrupts, and you respond, "Sorry, please finish." In that moment, you've just said, "My feelings matter less." Do this often enough, and people will believe it. They will keep stepping over your voice, not because they're cruel, but because you trained them to. The Stoics understood this. Authority is never forced, it is embodied. Seneca reminded us that calm brevity persuades more deeply than anger, but calm authority is not the same as surrender. So the real danger of sorry isn't weakness in a single moment. It's the slow erosion of your presence over time, which raises the question, if sorry is the trap, what is the alternative? There is one phrase, just as short, just as simple, but instead of shrinking your voice, it expands it. That phrase is, "Listen, there's more." Part 6, the alternative. Listen, there's more. If sorry is the trap, this is the way out. A single phrase, short, clear, powerful. Listen, there's more. Imagine you're in a meeting. You share an idea. Someone cuts in. Most people would shrink back. But instead, you lift your eyes, steady your tone and say, "Listen, there's more." Instantly, the interruption loses force. Your colleague pauses. Why? Because you've just signaled that your thought is not finished, and what remains matters. Now picture this in relationships. You begin to open up. A friend interrupts with their own story. Instead of fading into the background, you lean slightly forward and say, "Listen, there's more." The shift is subtle, but powerful. You've reminded them that your voice is not noise, it is substance. And people don't interrupt substance, they lean in. Even in marriage, in the most familiar routines, this phrase can reset the pattern. Partners often interrupt each other out of comfort, not disrespect. But if you always respond with, "Sorry," the habit grows. If instead you answer, "Listen, there's more," you reclaim space without hostility. The Stoics called this the discipline of speech. Epictetus taught that silence is mastery, but so is the ability to direct silence. When you say, "Listen, there's more," you turn silence back toward yourself. You reclaim the moment with calm authority. This is not arrogance, it is presence. Sorry makes your words sound like background noise. Listen, there's more makes them sound like truth. And here's the deeper lesson. These aren't just conversation tactics. They are reflections of how you see yourself. Part 7. The Stoic Lesson. At the heart of Stoicism is this truth. Your words are not separate from your character. The way you speak reflects the way you see yourself. Epictetus reminded his students, "Discipline of speech reflects discipline of thought." Seneca wrote, "Brevity holds more power than volume." Marcus Aurelius warned, "Waste no words on what is unnecessary." When you say listen, you claim attention. When you say important, you define priority. When you say now, you anchor presence. And when you replace sorry with listen, there's more, you stop surrendering your authority. This isn't manipulation, it's integrity. It's living in a way that commands respect without ever needing to demand it. Because the one who embodies respect never has to ask for it. They carry it wherever they go. So remember these words, practice them. Let them reshape the way you speak and the way others listen. And if you're ready to strengthen not just your words, but your entire way of living, subscribe to Nexus Mind. Together, we walk the path of calm authority. Together, we learn to live unshakable. If this video brought you value, you can tap the thanks button to support more content like this.